Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I've been watching Jupiter's Legacy. I very much like the comic. I like the comic a lot as well. A lot. It's been adapted by Netflix. Well, Netflix has this big deal with Mark Miller, one of the most successful people in comics, who's about, I think, perhaps one of the only people who's managed to monetize his comic work in Hollywood, right? I think he is the I think probably one of the reasons comic book industry has imploded, because most people in the industry right now, especially writers, just want to do what he's done. They want to use comics as a stepping stone to get to Hollywood. I get the feeling he really loves comics, and he found the very lucrative, Hollywoodization of his work, an added bonus. But I still get the feeling that the core of his work is always the comics, and that's why I think his comics are pretty darn good. So I'm 2 episodes into this adaptation of 8 episodes. Is it any good? I don't know right now. I don't know. It's not a strong recommend, right? It's not like a very, very strong recommend. There are some very, very good bits to it. There are some mistakes to it. The second episode I found turgid, and it was shorter. It was much shorter than the first episode, and it felt like 3 times the length. I found it just absolutely turgid. So anyway, I'm going to tell you my impressions as I go through it. I'll do a review every 2 episodes. So this is a review of episodes 1 and 2 by Dawn's Early Night. Pretty darn good episode. And Paper and Stone, not so much. A great episode. Before we get into it, can you hit the like button? That'd be fan-friggin-tastic. Thank you very much. That'd be fan-dabby double dozy. A comment. Also freaking awesome. Comments are really, really good. I got a bunch of comments to go through this morning. Comment is great. Subscribe. Subscribe is a big one. My brain was scrabbling like, what am I going to ask you to do? No, subscribe. I very much want you to subscribe to my channel. I'm getting close to 3,000. Nobody tell YouTube. Just let's get over 3,000 before they notice. And I think we might get away with it. Like, share, subscribe. And you're going to be super nice. Go check out my Indiegogo. 2 freaking awesome comic books out in an hour. Freaking awesome comic books, if I ever do say so myself. I keep threatening to wrap up this campaign. Today is looking good for me, finishing off all the other work. I got to earn a living. I got to do paid work. So I'm trying to finish the slate on all of that stuff, so I can really just do the bit of work I need to do, finish off this campaign. So yeah, listen, there is some urgency. I want to end this so I can fulfill it. You got 2 great comic books, graphic novels, I should say. I like graphic novels. A lot of people don't like the term graphic novels. I kind of like them. Biblical Bible stories, atheists, creators, rationalists, rogues. I think early Sandman, Swamp Thing, that Constantine, Hellblaze, that kind of vibe of a comic. A little bit more more cerebral. It's 220 pages long, 105 pages long, but a lot more fun. Is the Imperium, a love letter to telefantasy of the 1960s, a super group comprising of James Bond, Patrick Troughton's Doctor Who, Emma Pill. These are all kind of like Erstats versions of them. Emma Pill, a monkey in the spacesuit, and the Black Slab from 2001, all together in one stonking great, marvelous supergroup, defending 1960s from threats beyond reality. If you buy both books, you get a bunch of extras. You get the For the Male Gaze series, a bunch of postcards. You can send them to your vicar if you want. Send them to, if you have a friend in prison, send them to a friend in prison. I'm sure they will be very, very popular. We have this James Bondy one, Keeping the British End Up. We have a Space 99 one. Party Like It's 99. Don't even think it's Citizen. We all think it. There's no hanky-panky in the TARDIS. Oh, yes, there is. I'm sensing strong emotions, Captain. I bet you are. I think you might be sensing from me. And, of course, the fantastic The Force is Female. If we hit $8 grand, everyone's getting this poster. An A2 poster, 18 by 22, 24. If we do better, everybody gets more posters. We got the For Eyes, the Eyes Have It one. We have Great Balls of Fire. And we have Forever Young, which I want to do a little bit more work on. Again, hopefully I get all my straight work cleaned up today, right? So I can move on with life. Fine. So let's talk about Jupiter's Legacy. Firstly, let's talk about the artwork, because this is the thing that translates best over from the comic. And I'm not sure it's a good idea, as it happens, because the more accurately you transfer comic book costumes and basic comic book art into television, I think the more dodgy it gets, that's was one of the many problems with the Powers TV show, which was just awful. I mean, the other problem being the casting was terrible. Like Sheldon Copley as Walker, just freaking awful. What didn't nail it at all. Anyway, but they did the look at this character. They really do now, right? So yeah, I think they're much more both these characters actually. I think they're much more concerned with. Porting over the visuals of it than they are of the story of it. And the visuals are, I mean, just beautiful. Let me just, I'll show you some of the artwork. Artwork's by Frank Quitely, and again, they do really, it really feels like you're looking at Frank Quitely's art brought up. But yeah, look at like the kinetic. Movement of this table that she's gone through, and this character looks basically identical, right in the comic. So where they're not being as successful is translating the world over, the world of very like contemporaries. Media celebrities being superheroes or the children of superheroes. That was not, I mean, honestly, the only show that's really nailed that thus far has been The Boys, which has got this incredible like contemporary vibe to it, but it's with superheroes in it. It shouldn't be that complicated. It really shouldn't be that complicated, but it always is. Again, Powers. This is what the show Powers was supposed to be, and just failed horribly. I mean, maybe the budget was awful, but yeah, like another example of Powers copying over the costumes perfectly. Yeah, they did that, but once you put Michael Madsen in, an aging Michael it is Madsen, yeah, aging Michael Madsen in white spandex, it doesn't quite look as good as when Michael Omen was drawing it on the page. You got to deal with the medium that you're working in. So I would say so. Yeah, the visual stuff. It's mostly good. It's still a little bit under budgeted, right? It's mostly good, but they do recreate a lot of stuff really well. They have a couple of really great superhero fights in it, but still, it's a little bit off. It's not blowing you away yet. And yeah, again, the real tragedy of a TV show that the superhero show that didn't do this right is Jessica Jones. Now, Brian Michael Bendis, he's a massive progressive liberal who pretty much is the ground zero for the destruction of the comic book industry. However, that being said, before he went off the rails, he wrote a book called Alias, which is just one of my favorite books of all time. It was essentially the Jessica Jones TV show. Is this still on Netflix? I have no idea. But what made it so much better than Jessica Jones TV show, was you had that like bright Marvel MCU universe going on in the background, right? The initial story in the run was that she was a private detective who was looking for somebody, and she was set up to catch Captain America having an illicit affair. So yeah, basically in the background you saw superhero battles going on. That sort of thing. In the TV show, it just seemed like they had weird magical powers for no discernible reason, right? It just didn't really work. I think Spider-Man from Far From Home, not Far From Home, the first one, really made you feel like you're more in that like MCU universe, which was full of superheroes, which would have been. So this show doesn't really do that. The second problem with this show is it's got a lot of continuity and a lot of legacy, and it's not really explaining it particularly well. Here, let me read the synopsis for the first two episodes. Because again, I've only seen the first two episodes. So in 1929, Sheldon Sampson and his brother Walter are working for his father's steel company and living a privileged life. So Sheldon Sampson, they have the same actors playing themselves as young or like middle age, or like I don't know, in their 30s and also in their 80s or 60s or so. The makeup is nearly good. It's nearly good. It's not great. Again, it feels a bit too much like they're just trying to recreate the comic book incredibly accurately rather than reimagining it for a new media, which is TV. But yeah, so it's 1929. We got Sheldon Sampson, who is like a very much man of the people. All the workers love him. And his brother Walter is a much more calculating thing. So he sort of predicts the 1929 stock crash. Yeah, by the way, complete aside, they're predicting a 30% drop in the stock market this year. And and again, this is rumor. It's totally the rumor flying around is these mega divorces that are going on with Bill Gates and Steve, not Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, is actually a way of them liquidating their assets from the market without causing a rush, without it being appearing obvious. Is that going to happen? Because they are predicting a much bigger crash, which we do see in pretty close detail in this. So the problem here is they're spending way too long on the backstory without actually telling you how we got to this superpowered world. In the comic book, they told you in the first 2 or 3 pages, right? And then they went back and expanded on it. But yeah, basically you're just dropped in the middle of this continuity. And it worked in Watchmen. It doesn't really work here. Unfortunately. So yeah, we start with this like 1929 setting, and then there's a stock market, the stock market crash, and yeah, everything goes to hell. This father as one of the many people to throw himself off the building, and then it cuts to present day, and we have them, and they're both old, they're both aging superheroes, and they have children, Brandon and Chloe. So this is and I'm not sure if I don't like this because it changes from the comic. And I have a theory that if you like something, you like it in the first form you experienced it in. Like, I like the American Shameless way more than I like the British Shameless because that was the first one I saw. People look at me and say, that's the worst thing you could possibly say ever, right? They're not happy when I say that. But I think the way you experience in your first instance is the way you kind of fall in love with it, right? So when they change it, those changes really have to work, and these changes didn't work. So in the comic, you have both Brandon and Chloe are like vacuous celebrities who are they're like Kardashians. They're not the brightest bowls, but in the TV show, Brandon is a very earnest. He wants to be a good superhero, but he's not that strong. Right, but he wants to be good. So you have quite a good superhero battle where he's outclassed in the beginning. But again, he's very earnest. His sister Chloe, not so much. They have a family dinner, and again, this whole thing, it just feels disjointed. The way they did in the comic really sold the story a lot better, which is you kind of just saw them being Kardashian-like in a club, and you got it right, and then you juxtaposed it with their father. Sheldon. You've got a much better idea. What they are selling in this first episode, though, is it's a super-powered family drama, right? So at the same time, you have like some plot points going on. You have a supervillain who's apparently broken out of who's on trial, and he's broken out of the Supermax prison, and there's a big superhero fight. And again, there's a lot of stuff here they pulled over on the comic that really works out well. Like, you have like some of the weaker superheroes hanging back during the super fight, going, we'll just turn up at the end. We'll just turn up at the end, and then they do get sucked into the action. So we got the family drama going on that Sheldon doesn't really like his kids. He looks at Chloe as, again, she's like a Kardashian. She's wasting her life, wasting her talent, and he's just disgusted with her. And she is really reasonably disgusted at him for not being around enough when she was growing up, because he was busy saving the world all the time, and Brandon less so, right? But Brandon, he looks at him and is like, he's just not tough enough. He's not going to pull it together. So there's a lot of like parental stuff going on, which isn't so great. I think it's the 2021 trope of having a bad dad. Could be. Great superhero fight at the end, though, but has an ending which Sheldon doesn't like. Brandon ends the fight in a way that breaks the superhero code, and he's super mad about it. And there's one of his friends gets killed, or more than one of his friends gets killed in the battle. So we do have a scene with Brandon in a club talking to other superheroes. And they're like, listen, your father's uptight. Why don't you just relax? And So that worked better. Why? Because that felt like the comic book. That felt like a comic. I just don't like the change in this character. It feels like the plot of that first episode didn't really have a beginning, middle, and end. Right? It kind of meandered without a director. It didn't really have a shape. But it still was significantly the better episode of the two. Paper and Stone, not that great at all. Paper and Stone. So following the superhero fight, Sheldon, again, he's old. And again, let me just show you the artwork again, because they really do nail his look. But I think in the comic it works a lot better. So let me see if we can find it. Yeah, they do like nail his look reasonably well there. You know, that's how he looks in the TV show. Yeah, let me zoom in. Yeah, he looks like a aging superhero. And for some reason, it works on paper. I think far better than it works in reality. In TV. Fine. So the second episode, there's the fallout from the super battle. We get a little bit more world building back in the 1929 as they inch closer to this mysterious island where they're going to get the powers. Again, we should have really got that in a pre-title sequence, right? They should have had them go and get the powers and then cut to how the world was today with filled with superheroes, and how it's like the boys. The boys is the touchstone, and it's incredible really, because the boys I think is a weaker comic than both Jupiter's Legacy, Powers, Jessica Jones, but still it's the only one that's as yet has really nailed it. So yeah, they have a funeral for the fallen heroes. It just goes on and on and on. Then they inch closer to the plot, right? They both close to the plot of them getting superpowers in 1929. Sheldon has to give a eulogy at his father's funeral, at which point he collapses and ends up in hospital. And while he's there, he gets a vision of this island that they need to go to save America, right? And you're building up for a schism between was it Sheldon and his brother Walter, and you see going back to the 1929 setting, how it's all going to go pear-shaped, in the current era. Is it worth your time? I don't know. Listen, it's worth a punt. I would say it's worth a punt. I'm going to stick with it unless it gets really awful. Unless it gets really, really awful, I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to do a review every couple of episodes and let you know how's it going. Is it as good as a comic? No. Is it worth your time? I would say right now The Witcher is a bit better than it, and I didn't really like The Witcher that much. I just like Henry Cavill, so I gave it a punt, and it was good enough. Given that I really like Henry Cavill being great to fans, right? So that's basically where it is. That's my review. Is it a recommend? Not yet. Not yet. I hope it will be, although there is some great superheroics in there, just not the best. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.